welcome to yet another episode of Beyond the Present podcast. I'm Daniel Molgan, and today I want to talk about the importance of your social life and how your social life affects every aspect of your life, including the life that you live all on your own, alone at home. You see, it doesn't matter what lifestyle you have. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert, whether you love to party every night or you just want to keep to yourself every week. All of us, we need to take a look at our social lives and understand that we need to have what we call social energy. That is why it's extremely important to reanalyze and reassess every aspect of your social life in order to have optimum levels of health and well-being. And yes, this is not just for the extroverts of you guys out there, but you introverts who are now listening too. So please listen carefully. So why do I say it's very important to take control of your social life and value it and give it the importance that it deserves? Because whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it doesn't matter. You still want to live a life where you are constantly connecting to other people. Now you're saying, well, Dan, I'm not an extrovert like you. I'm an introvert. I just want to keep to myself. I get very stressed and nervous when I go out in public places and stuff, and I need to be by myself. Yes, but I haven't ever, ever since I actually learned about the concept of introversion and extroversion, I've never met a single introvert who had zero needs to have a social life. Every single one of us, we need to have a very vibrant social life tailored to our temperament. Now, if you're an introvert, that doesn't mean you want to be a loner for the rest of your life. Quite the contrary. As a matter of fact, introverts are the ones who are in need of a much deeper form of connection, albeit with fewer people around them. And that is why if they don't take the time to give this aspect of their lives the importance it deserves, they will pay a very hefty price in the long run. So that's the reason why I would like to start this segment addressing the introverts first, because that's what they need the most. And then we'll move on to the extroverts who seem to have their life together, I guess, because for them, it's not necessarily something that you have to be reminded of. They just do it very naturally and regularly. But for those of you introverts out there who feel like, well, I just feel very shy. I don't want to socialize so much. I'm good being alone. I can just grab my laptop and be in my room for the next week or so without any problems. Well, you might be thinking that that's the case. But if you're in that room with your laptop, the chances are you're still spending a great deal of time communicating and connecting, ideally using social media, the internet, and other online platforms, which means you're not really that alone. And if you were in that room all by yourself 200 years ago, you probably would have had a much harder time staying there, right? You couldn't have just ordered your food online and then, chat on your friends with your friends on Facebook and so on, which is why I think it's important to understand that you need to take your social life seriously. And that is to understand that just by being, alone by yourself, texting on social media platforms, you're not going to fulfill your basic needs. And those are what we call the face-to-face or FaceTime needs. And do not confuse this FaceTime with the other FaceTime app, please. You see, we all need to look at our social lives and ask ourselves, am I getting enough FaceTime with people? And if you're not getting enough of that, then believe me, you will find a substitute, which is oftentimes much unhealthier than the actual face-to-face time you need in your real life. Your virtual life is great, but that's not going to give you that face-to-face time. And almost anyone would agree that if you are in contacts with others purely through virtual means, you're not going to feel the same level of connection and depth as you do face-to-face. There have been many researchers in this regard that have proven very clearly that face-to-face interactions affect our very core and biology differently than online virtual interactions. Now, for those of you who are introverted, you understand that yes, when you're out there, you tend to lose more energy and get stressed more easily. That's what makes you an introvert, right? When you're out and about trying to meet people face-to-face, trying to have face-to-face interactions, you might have to consume energy rather than the extroverts who might actually have to gain energy in the process, right? But for you, it's like a consumption process. You have to consume energy, but at the same time, it'll still impact you the same way as the extroverts, in that it still allows you to boost your mood, to feel more centered, and to avoid feelings of doubt, feelings of lethargy, and other types of nostalgic feelings. So For today, your first task, if you're an introvert, is to make this a priority to increase the amount of face-to-face interactions in your life. It could be through other means. It doesn't have to be just, you being this social butterfly going out there meeting people. Maybe all you got to do is to just simply go to seminars, go to conferences. One of the best ways for most introverts to increase their face-to-face time actually is attending events or certain seminars or conferences that are not necessarily there for people just to meet. So if you're an introvert, you probably don't want to go to a club or you don't want to go to a random party, but you might enjoy going to a talk and watching an expert making a speech. You might perhaps enjoy the book club gatherings, near your place of living. There could be a lot of reasons, maybe going to a language school or attending some cultural events. For most introverts, they might need another reason apart from just socializing to socialize. And once they understand this, they can then take control of their social lives by focusing on finding more such events. How could I find more educational, business, networking, or other types of professional events in order for you to be able to actually go and socialize face-to-face? That's really, I think, the main factor here as an introvert. But at the same time, you also have to understand that no matter what you do, you still find yourself in situations where you're gradually losing energy. And this is going to make it harder for you to maintain that momentum, which is why if you're an introvert, you want to have that face-to-face time and then me time. Face-to-face time, me time routine, meaning that you push yourself to go out, to socialize, to meet people, ideally for other reasons than just socializing, education, work, arts, culture, sports, whatever it is. And then you bring back all of that thing back home and just by yourself, chill. That way, you will not make the mistake of many introverts who spend sometimes days on end just interacting with others virtually and not having that face-to-face time. On the other hand, if you're an extrovert, you're in for luck. Why? Because, by nature, an extrovert needs these social interactions to feel like they are alive, to feel that they are energetic enough to keep moving forward. That is why, as an extrovert, you don't have to worry about, should I create a balance here between this and that? Should I just, go? You can pretty much find any opportunity to socialize because for you, that's actually a need to recharge and replenish your mental and physical batteries. That's like, we need that. Yes, I'm also an extrovert. And just like many of you extroverts out there, you understand that for us, we actually release tension and we gain energy through social interactions, especially face-to-face interactions. But again, sometimes extroverts also don't really do a good job in this regard, in that they engage in haphazard forms of socializing, or they don't really plan their social lives, so they don't get that face-to-face time in a proper, high-quality manner on a consistent basis. So even for extroverts, we have to be consistent, meaning that you need to design a social life where you're getting that face-to-face time consistently. Imagine you have a great day with great healthy meals, nutritional and really awesome. And then you eat nothing for a day. And then you overeat the next day. And then you eat nothing for 2 days. That's going to lead to all sorts of, health problems, malnutrition, or various types of physical deficiencies. But if you plan your diet, if you plan your routines, then you can actually eat healthy on a regular basis. The same thing applies to an extrovert's regular social routine. It means you really want to prioritize planning those things for it to happen. If you are an extrovert, and because of laziness, lack of planning, lack of organizational skills, you end up being totally alone for a couple of days on the weekend when you did not plan it, believe me, some sort of negative feeling is going to attack you and hurt you the same way an introvert would feel if he or she were to be in parties for days on end, right? So you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to take control of your life and understand that your body and your mind needs a certain amount of stimulation from the social environment. So it's your job to take control. So what I recommend most extroverts is first thing in the morning when you wake up, plan your social gatherings. Say okay, now it's early morning. What am I going to be doing this evening? Who am I going to be seeing? What events? What people? Once you take control of that, once you make it like a task, one of the first tasks you do every single morning, then you don't have to worry about consistency in your social interactions. You know that you will be planning some sort of social gathering, some sort of social event at the very beginning part of your day, so you don't have to worry, what am I doing right now? Nor do you have to put up with a couple of days of hiccups where you just simply have nothing to do, nobody to see, and so on. And this isn't just about those of you who might be single. Even this issue could happen to a lot of married people with kids. They might actually, not plan their days well, so they don't have enough time to spend quality time with their loved ones, with their children, with their family members, and this is going to create a lot of problems. So don't assume that this is a problem only for the single people who have to plan every evening. This applies to every single one of us in every social situation. So start planning your day. If you are an extrovert, plan every single day and have a top priority task of planning your social life. Why? Because for you as an extrovert, those social interactions is literally like food for the soul. You need that. You need to that stuff to calm down, to feel centered. So take control of it. Don't be haphazard and random about your social life. Take control and start planning. And let me switch back to the introverts of you out there who's like, oh my gosh, these poor extroverts, they have to literally plan their days for their social intake, if you will. These guys, they got to be charged by people. Oh my gosh. Well, you guys also need to start planning. Why? Because for you to be able to have optimum social experiences and then have enough me time, alone time, you need to be very cautious and careful about that as well. How could you plan the days ahead, making sure that you spend a certain amount of time, certain number of hours outdoors with other people, and then planning your way back home to be alone by yourself? That also takes a great deal of planning. As a matter of fact, it probably takes more planning for the introverts than it does for the extroverts, because if you end up planning it in the wrong way, and you end up spending way too much socializing, you will actually end up burning the candle on both ends, and you can actually feel overwhelmed. So you too, the introverts out there, also need to be very careful about planning your day in order to make sure that your social interactions are optimum. Ask yourself, if you're an introvert, how much time can I actually be in a social gathering before I feel like I need a break or I need to be by my own? For some of you, it could be only 30 minutes. For some, it could be a couple of hours. It depends entirely on you. But ask yourself, how many hours do I have? And then where will I go to spend some time alone? Now, if you happen to go to a very long event, let's say a scientific conference that lasts an entire day, then how can you plan that so that you're with people for a couple of hours and then maybe leave the perimeter for a couple of hours all by yourself, go for a walk in a park? This is also very important because if you're an introvert, you have to plan so that you can have a couple of hours, maybe half an hour to an hour of social time, and then another half an hour to an hour of me time. And then you have to switch between these two in order to reap the benefits of face-to-face interactions, while at the same time not feel overly stressed or burnt out because you're an introvert. Now I'll go right back to the extroverts. He's like, oh, these poor guys, they got to plan like me time and they time and me time. Well, back to you again. For us, though, the extroverts, we have to get that face-to-face time on a very consistent basis. So we also have to think long-term. As a matter of fact, while it's great to plan your day in advance to make sure you have enough social face-to-face time experiences, the better approach is to actually take it a little bit longer and start planning it weeks in advance in order to know, okay, so I'm going to be doing this today, then that today, and so on. So the happiest extroverts are the ones who look at their calendar and they say like, oh my gosh, there's no free spot left on that calendar. I got meetings and gatherings and hangouts and parties every single day of the week from Monday to Sunday. And the next week after that too. Yeah. That's what makes extroverts pretty happy. Seeing that calendar full and their, plans booked, that's what makes them happy. They know that, yes, I'm going to be engaged every single day. I'll be running from meeting to gathering to dinners to parties, back to back, day after day. So for you, you also have to start thinking long term and start planning. How can I plan more of these events in advance? And that, of course, requires you to be good at time management and generally with networking in order to find enough events or social gatherings to join and to enjoy. All right, that's all the time we have for. If you're an introvert or an extrovert, now you know why you need face-to-face time and how you can plan your day in order to make the most of your social interactions while simultaneously remaining true to your temperament. My name is Daniel Molgan, and this was Beyond the Present Podcast. Have a good one.